Have you ever considered how easy it is to spot a speck in another's eye, yet remain oblivious to the log in our own? This question may seem a bit humorous, but it's a piercing reality that we all face. It's an illustration of the human tendency to focus on the flaws of others while neglecting our own. Let's take a moment to delve into this. Think about the last time you were quick to point out someone's mistake or criticize their actions. Now consider this. How often do we turn that same critical eye upon ourselves? The truth is, it's a lot easier to identify the faults in others than it is to recognize and confront our own. This is a common human trait, and it's not necessarily a bad one. After all, it can be beneficial to identify areas where others can improve. However, it becomes problematic when we use it as a shield, a means to deflect attention from our own shortcomings. It's like staring at a mirror, but only seeing the smudges on its surface, never the reflection staring back at us. This is where the power of self-reflection comes into play. Self-reflection is like holding up a mirror to our soul, allowing us to see ourselves for who we truly are, warts and all. It's a process of honest self-evaluation, an opportunity to recognize our strengths and weaknesses, our virtues and vices. Why is this important, you may ask? Well, without self-reflection, we remain stuck in a cycle of denial and deflection. We become stagnant, unable to grow and evolve. On the other hand, by engaging in self-reflection, we open the door to personal growth. We allow ourselves the chance to confront our weaknesses, learn from our mistakes, and ultimately become better versions of ourselves. Of course, this is easier said than done. It requires courage, humility, and a willingness to face the uncomfortable truths about ourselves. Yet the rewards are well worth the effort. In the grand scheme of things, it's not about being perfect, but about being aware of our imperfections and working to improve them. Have you ever wondered why it's so difficult to find our own faults? It's an interesting conundrum, isn't it? We are so quick to point out the flaws in others, yet when it comes to ourselves, we often wear rose-colored glasses. But why is this? The answer lies in our psychology. You see, our brains are wired to protect us from discomfort and pain, and admitting to our faults can be a painful process. It forces us to confront the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. However, if we can muster the courage to face our shortcomings, self-criticism becomes a powerful tool for personal growth. It paves the way for self-improvement by highlighting the areas where we need to grow and change. It's like shining a light in a dark room, revealing what's been hiding in the shadows. Let me share a personal anecdote with you. A few years ago, I had a tendency to procrastinate. It was a problem I was blind to, until one day I missed an important deadline. I was forced to face the consequences of my actions, and it was a bitter pill to swallow. But it was also a wake-up call. I realized that my procrastination was not just a harmless habit, but a serious flaw that was holding me back. So I began to criticize myself, not to berate or belittle, but to understand and improve. I started setting goals, breaking tasks into manageable chunks, and rewarding myself for meeting deadlines. And gradually, I overcame my habit of procrastination. That's the power of self-criticism. It's not about tearing ourselves down, but about building ourselves up. It's about being honest with ourselves, acknowledging our faults, and taking steps to improve. It's about turning our weaknesses into strengths, our flaws into assets. So, the next time you find yourself avoiding self-criticism, remember this: it's a powerful tool for growth. It's a mirror that reflects the truth, however uncomfortable it may be. But it's only when we face the truth can we truly begin to change. Remember, the power to change lies within us, and it starts with acknowledging our own faults. How can we start recognizing our own faults and use them as stepping stones for improvement? A question that reverberates with profound resonance in our minds. The journey of self-improvement is often a winding path, filled with hills and valleys. But fear not, for there are practical strategies that can guide us along this path. One such strategy is increasing self-awareness. This is not a one-off event, but a continuous process, a daily practice. It involves being mindful of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and acknowledging both our strengths and weaknesses. Self-awareness also requires honesty. It's about looking at the mirror and seeing ourselves for who we really are, not who we pretend or would like to be. Remember, the first person we should be honest with is ourselves. Another strategy is self-criticism. Now, this is not about being harsh or negative, but rather it's about being constructive and solution-oriented. It's about asking ourselves, how can I do better? What can I learn from this? Self-criticism is the catalyst that propels us towards growth and improvement. Feedback is also a valuable tool in our journey. Constructive feedback, whether from others or ourselves, is like a compass that guides us towards our goals. It helps us identify our blind spots and areas for improvement. However, it's equally important to be discerning and open-minded when receiving feedback. Not all feedback is beneficial, and it's our responsibility to sift through it and take what resonates with us. Self-reflection practices like journaling or meditation can also aid in our journey. They provide us with a quiet space to introspect and evaluate our actions and choices. They allow us to pause, breathe, and realign ourselves with our values and goals. Maintaining an open mind is perhaps the most essential aspect of this journey. It's about being receptive to new ideas, perspectives, and possibilities. It's about understanding that we are works in progress, always evolving, always learning. The journey of self-improvement begins with one small step, recognizing our own faults. But remember, it's not about perfection but progress. So let's take that step today and embark on this incredible journey. What happens when we ignore our faults and keep focusing on others? This question is more than just a rhetorical device. It's a gateway to understanding the dangers of ignorance, particularly when it comes to recognizing our own shortcomings. Imagine a world where everyone is so caught up in pointing out other people's mistakes that they completely overlook their own. In this world, relationships are strained, opportunities for growth are missed, and a lack of self-awareness prevails. This is the world we live in when we choose to ignore our faults. Take, for instance, the story of John. A hard-working and ambitious man, John was always quick to spot a mistake in his colleague's work. However, he was oblivious to his own shortcomings. His inability to take criticism, his tendency to micromanage, and his reluctance to delegate were all glaring faults he chose to ignore. Over time, his relationships at work became strained. His team felt undervalued and unappreciated, leading to a drop in productivity and morale. But the consequences didn't stop there. John's ignorance of his faults also meant he missed out on valuable opportunities for growth. His refusal to accept criticism meant he never learned from his mistakes. He was stuck in a cycle of repeating the same errors, never improving, never growing. Most importantly, John lacked self-awareness. He saw himself as a model employee, a paragon of efficiency and dedication. He was blind to his faults, and this blindness prevented him from becoming the leader he could have been. His ignorance not only impacted his relationships and his growth, but also his perception of himself. This is the danger of ignoring our faults. It creates a distorted mirror where we only see the best version of ourselves, while the reality remains hidden. We become blind to the areas where we can improve, and this blindness hinders our growth. Ignoring our faults doesn't make them disappear. It only blinds us to the areas where we can grow. So let's dare to look in the mirror, to see ourselves as we truly are, faults and all. For it's only by acknowledging our flaws that we can begin to address them and ultimately become better versions of ourselves. What kind of change can we expect when we start recognizing and working on our faults? A profound question indeed. Let's dive into the stories of transformation that unfolded when individuals chose to confront their own imperfections. Take Emma, for instance. She was known amongst her friends for her short temper. Her relationships strained, her friendships dwindled, and her overall life satisfaction plummeted. Emma realized she needed to change. She put in the effort, practiced patience, and worked on her reactions. Today she's transformed. Her relationships are stronger, her friendships have blossomed, and she's happier than ever before. Then there's John. Always the procrastinator, John struggled to meet deadlines and achieve his goals. His professional life suffered, and his personal life wasn't faring any better. John decided to confront his procrastination head-on. He started planning his days, setting achievable goals, and following through on his commitments. The transformation was remarkable. John's professional life flourished, his personal life improved, and his self-esteem soared. These stories illustrate the potential for personal growth that lies within each of us, waiting to be tapped into. When we acknowledge our faults and work on them, we not only improve ourselves, but also our relationships with others. Our overall life satisfaction can skyrocket. But remember, it's not about reaching a state of perfection, it's about the journey, the process of self-improvement. It's about recognizing our faults, working on them, and transforming ourselves bit by bit, day by day. It's about becoming a better version of ourselves, one step at a time. So let's ask ourselves again, what kind of change can we expect when we start recognizing and working on our faults? The answer is simple. We can expect a transformation, a shift towards a better, happier, and more fulfilling life. The power of transformation lies within us. It's not about being perfect, but about constantly striving to be a better version of ourselves.